I'm India Brown,
And I'm Sidney Wilson.
and we are two Southern gals making it in the big city world where we both work on a Broadway show.
And this is our podcast, Social Cues, a show where we put away our show scripts and stage blocking.
And have real conversations about how it feels being professional performers in a lucrative industry.
One topic at a time. Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to Social Cues. I'm Sidney.
I'm India, and this is our final episode for this first season.
I cannot believe that. I actually can't.
It's so bittersweet.
We started in the summer.
Yeah.
And
here we
made
are
it
in the
to
fall.
Sweaters and
I
jackets.
know
And everything.
it. Oh my gosh, it went by. It feels like in hindsight it went by so quickly, but it's like we had a little journey together.
We did.
Aww.
We really did.
So sorry about last week. You guys didn't get a podcast. We actually did film a final episode, but come to find out we had some technical issues and it didn't actually go through. So we're doing it again.
Yeah.
So
But this
welcome
is better
back.
because I like to be
I know. I
in
love
person,
I love to
reflective.
be close to you.
I know, like, we were very reflective, but I felt far. I wanted
Yeah.
to be, in person.
Because that
So-
what we recorded last week would have been we would have been virtual because
Yeah,
Sidney
I
was
was
out of town.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So we tried, but it must have been meant to be that we just
Child,
did it in
the
person.
Lord want us together.
Wrap it up. Yeah. So what's going on?
Just enjoying the season.
I know.
This is my season.
I think fall
my
is-
month, my
yeah.
birthday month. So
Yeah, you
I'm
had
loving
your
it.
birthday recently.
My
I know.
anniversary on Broadway, 10 years.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
the same day, right?
Yeah, same day as my birthday, October 8th. So
Wow.
I love it, honey. I'm basking in the lattes and the leaves and the
Sweaters.
colors, the
Yeah.
sweaters. Yeah.
Yeah.
You do.
I think I'm good. I think fall is my favorite season. I don't know. I always say that.
Yeah.
And then I come around to spring, which is like my birthday, like actual spring, because my birthday is normally still cold.
Yeah.
And like end of April ish. So it's still kind of like rainy and stuff.
Yeah.
But then like May, when May comes around, I'm like, ah, my favorite season. But I think I don't know. I clearly like the transitional seasons.
Me too.
Like, I don't know that I love like summer or winter. Like I don't like the extremes. I like the trend, like the cool and like mid 70s. Like you can kind of.
I don't know.
switch
It's
it
something
up.
about the layering too, which is kind
I
of
was about to say
fun.
that, like you can wear a jacket or not.
Yeah,
like you can still kind
yeah.
of pull off stuff with like different. I just think that's so
Right. You can
cute.
kind of like mix textures and colors and stuff. So maybe
Yes.
that's the fun part of it.
Yeah,
I don't know if I mentioned this before, but it's like I really enjoy living in a place where we experience all the seasons. I couldn't
Yeah.
even imagine being like in Florida
or like
California.
LA. I know. I think about that, and I'm like, if I ever
Yeah.
move there, it's definitely nice. And some people like it's kind of like New York, like with the culture. I think it's the same with New York culture as it is weather there. Like if you like it, you
Yeah.
love it. Like if
Yeah.
you hate the cold, go to California. But I don't know. I feel like I would miss it because it
Mhm.
keeps me present. I think it keeps me like connected to the earth to like see what's like things shifting around me and knowing like I'm
Yes.
changing and the world changes.
That's a
and, like,
really great
give
point.
yourself grace because you're like everything shifts.
Yeah, there
like,
is
I'll be
something
okay.
like about being in a place that only experiences like maybe one or two seasons where it feels almost like a bubble. So I think you're 100% right. Where it's like,
is this real life?
yeah, like you're on a time loop or something.
Right.
It's crazy.
Right.
It's a good point. I never thought about it like that.
Yeah, but yeah, nothing much for me keeping up with this. Well, not really. Trying to actually avoid some of this Jada and Will stuff that's surrounding us.
Oh,
The
Somebody wrote it. I think it was like a tweet. It was like, "Please release us."
Literally, like
Let us go.
I'm praying. Like there was this guy, and he was like sitting there dressed like it was like a back and forth. Like he played two people basically in the reel, and it was just him sitting dressed up, and he was like, "So we've been to," and he was like, "Are you talking to me?" And he was like, but playing to himself, and was like, "Well, we've been separated for," and he was like, I'm sorry, I didn't ask," and she just kept going with it. Like people are like, we haven't
asked you for
this
none
stuff."
of this.
But what it is really, I feel like how, and everybody has done this before, but like when you give a little something and like you don't tell the whole story, and then more, it's not like it's lying still because it's lying by omission.
Yes.
So you tell one piece and then
That's exactly
it runs
what's
for
happening.
so long, and then you got to go back and be like, well, actually, because this is all going back from entanglement.
And we all are logging it back like, oh,
So that's why, because
okay.
I just connected those dots. Like the
Me
reason this
too.
is coming out is because the entanglement wasn't really an entanglement
No.
then because they were
Y'all want a
separated.
break.
But you didn't say that. You said entanglement, so it seemed like you cheated, and Will posting stuff that don't even matter. Like he's just playing around.
Lord, y'all pray for his
He was
mental
like,
health. That
official
brother's so
statement.
tapped out.
This crazy. I was like, what is it? What are
He's
you
so
doing?
tapped out. He want to show his travels so bad. And he's somewhere in Iceland on a boat sleep.
And I was like, what is happening?
I'm not sure.
He
It's
said
exhausting.
He said like it's a social experiment or something. I don't think any of this stuff is real. I don't know.
And you know what? I heard on the radio, and I didn't think about it before, but somebody said this. Like, I don't believe her. And here's the thing. I like Jada Pinkett as an actor, as a performer. Mm-hmm. And granted, I don't know her from Adam, but something about her is very kind of cold and cut off, just not warm, is not inviting. So I do lean on the side of like, yeah, I feel more connected to Will. I feel more, empathetic to Will than her.
I don't, because of that slap situation. Like, that was so public.
Again,
like,
something
like
we didn't ask you to do that.
Planted
brother.
And like
it
that
was so bizarre.
So like, I don't think that.
But that's what tells me mentally. I think that was like a break, because usually when someone is going through something mentally, it does kind of seem very random, sporadic. Just
do you think that was real? The slap?
It didn't look real. Like, because here's the thing, he started laughing when Chris Rock made the joke, but then I guess he looked at Jada, who Jada was. She wasn't checking for from the very beginning.
This, I know y'all probably tired, but this was an ongoing. This was a conversation that we had for months and months. But I do want to hear it, because I don't think we ever really talked. No,
we never really like delved in. So just the way he switched so quickly and got turned to like 100 so quickly, that's what kind of made it seem kind of phony. And even the way he slapped him, it was very theatrical.
Like, this was staged.
Yeah.
Like, I don't.
And then I'm like, and what black dude is really gonna let themselves get slapped and not, you didn't buck back, you didn't do nothing?
And just like I don't know, it just seemed very strange
to me
odd. For like what it would do to his career and his whole life. He has not been that person, and I get what you're saying. Like, it could have been a break, or maybe, because you never really know what happens, but for all of that, the whole career and life, and then that one joke, when you've been like,
with this woman that wasn't even come to find out your woman no more,
right? And not that I don't know that he's done stand up and stuff, but you are in a comedic field, like, when people are joking, how to be lighthearted. So for that one joke to be the utmost, to send you over the edge to do something that would then get your movies and stuff taken off of streaming platforms, like, it's like, I don't
but see, now that's that side. But then the other element to it is, because I read a little bit of his book, I didn't finish it. If I'm being honest, I didn't finish it. But reading like the first few chapters, understanding Jada's background, and how we just automatically connected her to like Tupac, and he's mad hard and thugged out and all that stuff. I lean on the side like he had a mental break, because I feel like he spent his entire life trying to amount up to this image, this hardcore image. Even when he was rapping, like, he hated being like the cookie cutter white kid, corny rapper.
Right.
Like, he's always tried to have like this hard exterior, or like this cool effect to the people. And I think he has even spent his entire romantic relationship with Jada trying to prove to her, I can be like a Tupac. You know what I mean?
And
so that's where it's like, okay.
Yeah. I really have a heart for Will. I think it's interesting, two things. One, that she ended up with him, because that happens often. Like, you end up with the opposite of like what you thought that you would be with. But he's good for a person like her, coming from her background. But that insecurity is deep, because I didn't read his book, but I did read Viola Davis's. And in her book, she talks about a conversation that she had with him. And he was like, who are you as an actor? She was like, she didn't really have an answer. And he was like, for me, like, I'm always gonna be that 16-year-old boy who got broken up with. And I'm like, ooh, like, if you watch him and not that like everything he plays, like, obviously like Men in Black and stuff, but like even the early stuff like Fresh Prince is kind of like, he does give that, like, not that he's like proving his masculinity and stuff, but he just like low key, I feel like sometimes he is, like, kind of something you can see, like, or sense a little insecurity of like, am I good enough, can I, and so it makes him very sweet, but sometimes I don't know. We're so invested.
We really are. We're going on about this, but it's something. I think what they're displaying is something that's very real in the Black community. Like, you have the strong Black woman from maybe the hood or whatever, living a hard life, trying to figure out, wanting to be treated well, but not being used to it, and not giving a person permission, not being vulnerable enough to let somebody in and take good care of you. And then you got the Black man who's
Trying to
grappling
provide.
with, his identity and what society is trying to tell him he needs to be.
And
So
they're actors, so
yeah.
that stuff about her and like losing Tupac or him dying and like them being like a match, like two theater kids in the hood, and like that like
Mhm.
found like that soulmate type of thing is kind of like, as an actor and like a theatrical kind of dramatic person, to
Mhm.
know that is like your heart's like
Ooh.
desire, like to know her heart's not, and his like,
Yeah.
this is an everlasting,
It's
like,
the
will I
perfect
ever match up
romantic
to,
movie.
yeah, like, and then he dies, like,
Yes.
will I ever match up, like, how can you ever match up to
Girl,
like this,
what in the
this cute
Titanic?
puppy love like that ended up leaving, like, it's just so
Yeah.
dramatic, like,
Yeah. It makes for really good TV,
yeah,
honey, and we
it
are so
does.
invested.
And that's
So
why people keep getting sucked in.
Yeah.
But we were
Yeah.
talking about possibly reading or listening to I might do the audiobook,
I
because now
think
you
I
got me
might
interested.
too.
So I think, yeah, we were talking about as a group in the dressing room doing it like a book club. I think it would be interesting. I kind of was sick of her, so I was like, I ain't reading that.
That
But
was
now
my initial.
now I'm kind of like,
But
maybe
see,
I will.
now I have a friend who's in radio, and another friend actually reposted a clip from the interview they did with Jada in the studio, and she so eloquently articulated like what is happening with society against Jada, and she asked her in such a direct way, like, what do you basically, I mean, she was flat out about it, like, people are responding. I understand, like, you're putting this out there because this is your story and you want to be helpful and you're going through, your soul searching and shifts, but the people aren't responding well. What's your response to that? It was just the way she set it up, and she asked her, she got such a good answer out of Jada. And Jada was basically like, yeah, I know I'm emasculating my man again. Like, she's well aware of all of how she's coming off from all of us.
Yeah.
And she was just like, basically just the Black struggle. Like, we never give each other permission to tell our truth, tell our story, no matter how messy or ugly or real it is. Like, we have just been groomed to just hold stuff in and hold it and hold it. Don't share your business. Don't tell that. Well, tell your business, because what you'll find is you can help somebody, and you're not the only one going through it. And, obviously we're not perfect, la, la, la. We're on our journey. So I thought that she gave a really beautiful response. And it kind of, I felt like she was talking to me, because I was on that boat too, like, girl, I don't want to hear no more about you and your life, selling drugs, Tupac. I don't want to hear no more. But yes, I do think it's necessary for her to set her soul free, to get this off her chest. Now, making money and all that stuff, that get a little dicey. Yeah. She is making a profit. But, if they're truly on this journey to get back to each other, then, you got to let some of this stuff out.
Yeah.
And they are so public. So the only other way to do it is to do it public. Honey, he done made a whole drama out of this.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I hate that I'm so invested. But I think we're so invested because it is deeply rooted in some of our issues in our community.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, like you said, you mentioned, like, they were both theater heads. So
yeah.
It's like,
and these actors and stuff. And it is like in the, people in these songs talking about that Will and Jada love, and like people whether you want to admit it or not, we look at pop culture in sometimes and see ourselves in that, like the same way, like we always end up turning to art and things to like save us or bring us through.
Yes.
So like when you look up to these couples, not that you idolize them, but when you look up to people in the industry and stuff, that is just the truth, and you can't just like separate yourself. I think from that, but
my last thought on it. Obviously, I want them to win because, it's very real. Like, you ain't going to like or love your partner the entire relationship. Like, you ebb and flow in the relationship like anything.
We need to have a marriage
we do, because it's very real. Like, when you're around someone day in, day out for what you're aiming for eternity, like, it ebbs and flows. Like, even a friendship. A coworker, we get on each other's nerves like that, so it's the same. So to over romanticize this idea of, oh my God, I love you forever and we're the best of friends the whole way through, it's false. It's not true. So I can appreciate them showing that, revealing that. And honestly,
the way in which they're doing
it's the way I really would have appreciated with that entanglement conversation, that conversation coming up. Hey, actually, we were separated. You know what I mean? It just was the omission of such information, and her even saying like, "Well, we were trying to put up this front." That makes me almost not believe in them for real. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like, God, there's so much good information here. You should have just been vulnerable the whole way through. We'll ride with you, though. You ain't got to fake.
Yeah.
I don't know. So
So, share your thoughts. I'm sure this is, whoever's watching is probably the 80th time you've heard about it.
child, release
But it
us.
is interesting, I think, to talk about in relation to like the Black community and
Yeah.
relationships and testimony
And
and
even
openness.
actors.
Yeah.
Because they feel so deeply for different roles and stuff.
Yeah.
Like this is a good social experiment.
It
you know?
is.
Yeah.
Still people. Get your social cues. Take your social cues.
I know that's right. Listen, I saw a tweet. Somebody was like, "I don't want to hear nothing else about Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith and that Christian Rock."
Oh my gosh.
I'm kind of there.
And Keke Palmer.
Yeah,
We're
and
wrapping,
and
we're
her
closing
boyfriend.
that for
Lord.
the season.
Can
we're closing
we?
down for winter.
We're going into the holiday season. Let's just let them go.
Right.
But good luck to them. You know. But you know, turning the tide to something a little bit more low, sad. My heart goes out to this Israeli war that's going on, and even still the Ukrainian war that's still going on. But most currently, what's happening, the fight between Israel and the Palestinians over the Gaza Strip region. Oh,
yeah, it's unfortunate. It's, to me, even crazier, and I don't know that this has ever happened to me, but sometimes it does take it, like, it takes something coming close to you to really understand the breadth of it. And even being away, but you sharing with me that there have been protests and things happening here and kind of people being a little unsure.
yeah.
Sometimes it takes that to be like, oh wow, this could be us. Like, what would I do if
like
this was us?
That.
And yeah, it's unfortunate following the news. The loss
Seeing
of lives
the
on both
images,
sides
videos.
is, yeah, it's heartbreaking. So
Yeah.
we definitely, and sharing a strong faith and trying to put the pieces together. I think that the most important thing is trying to stay aware and alert and knowledgeable, but compassion and prayers, thoughts, love, all that goes to people
100%.
on both sides, because innocent lives being lost is
just no excuse for that. No,
Yeah.
Especially if it's like deliberate, because there is a difference between collateral damage in a war and you just deliberately, intentionally targeting people.
Yeah.
And it's seeming like, and I do say that loosely because I am still following the news coverage and such, but it's seeming like they are targeting innocent people, and that's just it's not okay. It just gets so tricky because what I am now doing for myself, like obviously I'm trying to stay informed. I'm watching the news, but I try to be careful with that too, or not be careful, but just take it with a grain of salt because America is the ally of Israel, so obviously it's going to be heavily more leaning on the side of the Israel people in Israel.
Yeah.
But I try to think about it like, God forbid, and I pray really hard, God forbid if we had like a race war here, and we are highly polarized and tensions are running super high right now to the point where people are just taking sides and there's like a tribe situation going on. But I try to think like, Jesus Christ, if something like that happened here in America between black people and white people, I would really hope that the rest of the world didn't take a polarized perspective and take one side. They just show up for all of us, you know, and they can reach some sort of resolution that benefits most of the people involved.
Yeah.
But because when you go on social media, maybe have certain conversations, both sides of this, both of the people involved in this war are very passionate about their people, their religion, and it's valid.
Yeah.
So I can't take away from either side. Like, there's no one enemy here.
Yeah.
I do understand one group is more oppressed than the other. I'm cognizant of that, but just some of this stuff, like, golly, why is war ever even a thing?
Yeah.
Like we are just too advanced and intellectual to be in a point where we use such savagery still to get things resolved.
Yeah, it's hard to see that. I think especially when we don't see it every day. It's not in front of our faces. And sometimes I think most of the time, especially as Americans and the way that our culture is and kind of in greed and capital, it's easy to kind of sometimes feel that we're far removed from that because of the wealth that we live in.
Yep. Out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah. But I think the important thing that I'm trying to remember too is that the people of those regions or of those communities and those groups don't represent, or maybe the government doesn't represent those people.
Yeah.
And so I'm hearing arguments, and these are people who I know, who are close to me, who I follow, and it's kind of hard because, like you said, there's different media outlets, which there's always going to be that. There's always going to be like yellow journalism and people, changing the truth or what the trying to shift the perspective or
curated to their opinion.
A certain opinion. But I think that's why it's important to stay well versed in different like areas, like all reading as much as you can and trying to garner, because like things are happening every day and we can't know and be like, I can't come to like a definitive answer for this or that, like you're saying, like because it's difficult and it dates back so far.
Yes.
And the things that I've been reading, and every time I feel like I discover one thing, it leads me to another question of, and that's the important thing I think for us, is to stay hungry, to continue to show support in the way that we can, but always be garnering information, because I think misinformation is the way that leads to ignorance, and that's why a lot of people make statements and things, and it ends up just being like, you said something that now you can't take back, or that you didn't really know, and the internet is a dangerous place for a lot of attacking and things like that.
Yeah, so, and we use it so frivolously.
Yeah,
so
but yeah,
Jesus, my heart,
everybody.
Yeah, definitely everyone involved. I don't. It's so difficult being on the outside looking in, trying to. I feel like I'm tiptoeing because people are being attacked for taking the middle ground too. And it's like I don't want to make it seem like I'm taking the middle ground here, but geez, innocent life is innocent life. It doesn't matter, you know. Yeah. I just wish we all can get back to a sense of humanity and just see that first. Yeah. Like people are dying. Yeah. Like senselessly. So like you say, my heart goes out to everyone involved. I pray that they reach a resolution and they don't keep going on with this for too much longer. Yeah. That's the other thing too. It's so wild. Wars last for years. Yeah. I'm like, how is that so?
But the way that things are looking and the oppression, I don't know. I can't predict, but I don't even know if it would last long. The way that certain groups are attacking, it's seeming like it's looking like genocide, which is really unfortunate. And very scary to think about, because when you think back on history and how things happen, this is exactly what leads up, and then other governments ally with and people don't take a stand in the way that they should,
and grows, and then you get a world war.
So, but
we'll
see.
I pray,
always praying.
All we can do is keep our eyes on this and pray. Okay, so
bringing it back up, what the real intention of this final episode is to kind of wrap up and talk about our favorite moments from this season. And how we've learned, how we've grown, what we plan to do for the future. So what have been your favorite episodes and why?
So first and foremost, my favorite episode, it was the intro, just getting to know you, where you're from, your background, like how you put your feet on the ground here in New York City was really cool for me. It made me grow a little bit closer to you, obviously, and just understand, like, we all have our paths, and it's so cool, and it makes me so curious to see, like, how are people navigating this thing called theater. So that was really fun, and even just to see you, like, just your growth, like even in like the hosting and seeing you even in the show, like just blossom, and to hear where you came from. It's been really cool. The other one was the imposter syndrome episode. Just for me, I walked away feeling that much more seen and heard and understood. Like to feel like, oh God, it's not just me, like, because you get into like this isolated space, like, boy, I'm tripping, or like, I'm just lame, I'm just insecure, you know what I mean? And you don't realize, like, we all are holding that. So that was really cool to kind of, see that it's not just me in this, and then how does it show up, and then ways to even get pulled through it, and then the other one was like the hair episode with Latasha Days, honey. She blew my mind with that, like the hair calendar schedule. Like to have different hairstyles throughout the year, like Every time I
Yeah.
speak with her, I learn something brand new about myself,
I
my hair.
know.
I've been carrying all this hair and skin all my life. And,
Right.
you have one conversation like, oh God, I didn't even think about it like that. So those were my favorite episodes.
Yeah.
So, yeah. What
They
about
were
you?
good. My favorite episodes, I really like the intro too, but I was gonna say about that too. I think that was really important because like I recently did a Q&A when I was back visiting my old school, and that is like the number one question I get. Like, what is it like shifting from where you're from to New York, and like what is that transition like? What is that? And it's a hard one, and I was not shy about, just like I was on the first episode, like about saying that it was difficult and that like it ebbs and flows, and it depends on what you're doing and how you can stay connected, if you can stay connected,
Yeah.
and how to make that happen if you feel like you can't. So that's one that I hope we get some more views on, because I'm directing them all. Like, go watch that episode. 'Cause
seriously, it's very real.
Yeah, I talked about. But I think I don't know. I like all our episodes.
I know. I can't.
But
really
I think my favorite guest. I loved all our guests too, but I think my favorite one from this season was Adrienne Walker.
You said you felt really
connected to her. Yeah, and just like, it's so crazy how the Lord always works and does things right on time, which is why I love him. But that was something that I had been having questions about, that auditioning and kind of like what the process is like and how to navigate in career. And when you start in such a high level, you always thinking about like, oh well, what's next, because this was my like ultimate goal, so what happens now? And so
especially when you get it so early.
So some of her insight was really, really good, because I think in the same way that people struggle sometimes in not reaching a goal at a certain time, if you reach a goal sometimes what feels like too soon, then it's kind of like you still get anxious about, well, where do I go now, and how is this? Do I go down? Do I go back up, or can I excel, or do so she just had a lot of good insight that was really on time for me at that moment, which I really loved. And then I also really liked our colorism episode. I was really glad. I felt open, like I felt like I learned a lot about you in that one too, and just being able to talk about something that is tough to talk about sometimes, and it's not like, I think it's taboo as it used to be. Like, it's definitely more, but putting that stuff out in the open is like, it's those hard, it's like we said in the episode, like it's those hard conversations you have to continue to gain understanding. But
and it's scary.
You have to face yourself, you have to face other people, and not worry about being judged, because if your true mentality is to learn and to grow, then you have to put yourself sometimes in an uncomfortable place of admitting when you are wrong in a situation and trying to learn and get better. And so that resonated with me. But I also love the backstage shenanigans. That episode. And just, I love that documentary style, like just like getting up close and personal.
We were up in their face. They were so mad.
They were clowning.
They were like, God, you showed all my pores in my face.
Just joking and like laughing and seeing people's personalities. Like, I definitely want to do like a part 2 with that, and just games, because I think that's what people love. And people love to see that type of stuff, like just what happens back, like what are y'all be doing, like like joking around the same way everybody else does, like.
And it was so much fun to just give them like a very bare minimum like guideline and see what they do with it.
Because that's how people's really personalities come out, is like, what are you gonna do? I'm just gonna give you a little bit,
what
like,
are you gonna say, how are you gonna do this?
And it helps them too, because when you're at the show and like it's been going the same for a couple, when stuff like that happens, I'm sure their show was like elevated, because it was like, that game was kind of fun. Like, did India ask y'all? And they're like, I wanted to, but I was shy. Like, we got you next time. Like,
right now, people do want to participate.
Come to me and was like, I just was too nervous. I was like, it's nothing to be nervous about. Like, it's just So those are my favorites.
I agree with you. Like, to my core, I don't really have like a favorite. I loved all the episodes, because one thing about, when we were coming together with the idea of like, what are we going to talk about and the topics, the one thing that I knew I really wanted to offer, and I wanted to offer this because this is what I want to get. I listen to a lot of podcasts. So as a listener, what I appreciate in different podcasts is if it's funny, if it's entertaining to some degree, if I walk away learning something, and, if a little bit of vulnerability is there. So to just see like every episode, like we gave a piece of ourselves. We extended some, information that I didn't know before. I walked away learning something, and we're having a good time with it.
Yeah.
It's been such a beautiful thing. Like I appreciate you, just the chemistry.
Yeah.
No, we are not rehearsing none of this.
No.
Like,
you want to talk about this? No, let's just talk about this.
We can't even. We're not even coordinating the outfits, but we're coordinating. Like, we're so in sync. It's just so seamless and effortless. So that has just really been a blessing and just so fulfilling and fun.
Yeah, that was something else they were asking about the podcast when I went, and I was sharing some stuff about it, and it is a big interest of mine, and it's something that helps me to work like a different creative muscle, because we love to create, like that's what we want to do, but you don't always want to do the same thing. And so doing this has been good, like being open, and like I think too, the generation difference is really cool to see and have an open space to talk about that stuff, and not be like, well, let me not, because I don't want, like, I know that you're open too, and I just appreciate you and Dale, our producer, for just like having things on, like staying on the ball, like quality looks good, like I feel open, and I feel like I'm able to really communicate and step up to the plate in that way, because y'all don't really know me that well, but I tend to be a little bit more reserved sometimes, and like I'm learning how to really come like out of my shell and really speak my mind and what I think, and so it's helping me grow all around, and I'm just really grateful for the podcast.
I'm so glad. Yeah.
So
yeah, it's such a wonderful thing.
It's so fun.
Yeah.
Coming over here to your house, and
it was just so random. I just came up to Sidney one day and was like, "You want to do a podcast?"
Right. And I'm like,
because sure. I sensed that I thought it was really, really cool that we're of two different generations from the same place, kind of similar backgrounds, but the thing that really made me think it was going to be a cool idea was how open you were. And I know I'm an open person. Like, I love young people. Like, I love to feed off and understand, like, where y'all are. And to see that you had, like, this old spirit, this old wisdom about you, I knew that, we would make some good conversations. Yeah. But I think I'm appreciative also that we have this platform and we're displaying that you can have tough conversations, awkward conversations. And we haven't even really gone in like we do in the dressing room. Right. But you can have these tough conversations without animosity and shutting down somebody's, their intellect, their spirits, their journey, their path. Just the open-mindedness has just really been really great. And I think it is necessary for people to see, because like I mentioned earlier with, the current events, like we are so polarized and we're getting more like further and further away. We're talking from a race perspective. We're talking from, financial, your class system, socioeconomic, right. And generations more so now too, because, the latest generation is so much more, fast, like just into like technology and just savvy, inclined and savvy. And me being kind of on like the pinnacle of that, I see both sides. Like I see the side of like the slower generations and generations that wanted to labor for work versus take pictures and do something that's a little bit more relaxed for work. So, it just seems like it's a clash all around us. So to see us come together and display like we can talk, and we can be understood. We can agree to disagree. We haven't actually disagreed on anything yet on camera, I don't think. I mean, slight things, but like I just want to keep displaying like we can have a conversation. Yeah. It doesn't have to, make me feel a type of way about you or make me feel like you don't know anything because you're younger than me. Right. Because you know a whole lot more than I do these days, child. Show me how to do this thing on social media, So just to lend that respect no matter your age and, where you come from. Yeah. That's really good. That's important to me. So we did that.
Amen. Okay. And
so
coming in the future, what are we looking towards? I know we've kind of talked about the more of like the business and logistical side. Yeah. I think we'll probably kind of reevaluate every season, like where we want to go, and possibly move even away from some theater and things like that, because I know we want to keep this going and I really enjoy it. But I think talking about like producing, playwriting, getting some guests up here to really talk about that, and about the span beyond Broadway itself, like other like theater
Mm-hmm.
tour. Sorry, I'm sorry. Other things like tour and regional and things
Right.
like that, and
Right.
how that type of stuff works.
Right. Yeah, because we kind of fell into like a theme, like a
Mhm.
through line for this first season, which was quite wonderful. And I think it was more so heavily just getting to know us
Yeah.
and like our operations in this business
Mhm.
and like what we do day to day to maintain. I think in this second season it's going to highlight the business in show business.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, we are going to try to get some of the other perspectives from stage management to producers to talent agents, like all of the workings that happen, the inner workings, right, that happen in this industry. We're going to lean into that.
Yeah.
And definitely get perspectives from, people from not just Broadway, but regional theater and touring and, continue to just extend obviously the ins and outs of theater. But yes, we do want to try to like broaden the scope to relate to the world around us, especially, considering the fact, and I've mentioned this a few times on this podcast before, I'm transitioning out. And you brought up a really good point about yourself, like your growth in opening up and hosting and speaking and all this stuff. Like for me too, as well, it kind of gives me a breath of hope. And granted, I've always held hope. I've always been. It's a mix of feelings that come with ending a chapter. I've been doing this since I was 3 years old, so obviously there's that sadness and that fear, immediate fear that's there. But having this experience, it makes me much more excited, to step out and like, I got other stuff in the bag. Because that was the first question, like, okay, girl, you're not dancing. What else are you going to do?
Yeah.
So this makes me feel very optimistic and hopeful, like, oh, I got other stuff. Like I did major in communication, or minor, I'm sorry. I minored in communications in college. So, I might just sit back in my little communications bag and see what's out there.
That's
reinvent
so funny
myself.
that you were saying that, because I've been having like worries about that randomly too recently. Like, what am I? And I'm not even phasing out. I'm just phasing in. But I'm like, what am I gonna do when this is done? Like, how do I?
Yeah.
And it's like, even my mom had like given me a statistic, like people change careers like up to like on average like 7 times throughout their whole life.
Wow.
Like, so it's like you don't have to be nervous. Like you just keep on doing, and then if you want to do, and also knowing that like as you step into new things and doors open, or you step into something, God opens doors for other things too, and you'll be led to like, oh, maybe I'll do this, or maybe I'll try. But that kind of bleeds into my tithes and offerings.
Oh,
but
yeah, I think it is a beautiful thing as artists. I feel like no other industry, we do have the ability to reinvent ourselves because we're creative.
Yeah.
We come out of our imagination, so I do think I want to say it lightly. I don't want to put down anybody in the other industries because we all need each other. But I do think we have this level of resilience and, this strength about us because we can reinvent ourselves. And we saw that in the pandemic, like I started a YouTube channel, so other people kind of birthed YouTube channels and podcasts, and people were singing out the windows. And, we know how to keep ourselves entertained, and just keep rolling. And we know the struggle, and we're comfortable in struggling for a little while, then understanding like, okay, now we have reached the peak of this particular industry. So I'm sure you may share the same sentiments. Like we have that glimmer of, oh, we've seen the light. We are in the light, know. So you can go through it because I struggled for a little while. So I now know, okay, I can be uncomfortable for a little bit, but I know there's a greater something there. Amen. So there's no need in even trying to be afraid to even try. Right. Right. So yeah, man, I think we had a lot of stuff in our toolbox that really will help me transition and be cool and comfortable with it.
Even just your personality. Like I was telling that same Q&A, I was talking to them about that saying that's like, how I don't really believe in that saying of like, if you can imagine yourself doing anything else, like do it, because you're not really cut out for this, or you're not going to have the wherewithal to withstand and persevere. But I don't think that that's true because A, like we said, people shift and transition, new opportunities open up, and B, just in being a performer or having that like skill set, you stand out among the rest a lot of time. And like you said, I'm not trying to bring people down, but like I have a friend who's in sales who like went back home and just wanted to work on that and make some money, and like he just excelled because of like hey, like that person,
Yeah.
that auditioning and knowing how to just like read somebody and really make good eye contact and be like,
The connection.
it's not the end of the, like, if you don't perform or, if you end up stepping into another role, like you will still be set apart. Like you still stand out and you will still be set apart because you are you, and you know how to put on, and you're not just always putting on a show. Like you know how to connect with people, and that, like, your artistry and your passion for that, no matter whether it's your passion for that for your whole life or even just for a small part, like that little artist piece of you will like always be in you, and like that will always, like, that light will always just shine, like, and make you shine like a little bit brighter. And I think that's exciting and hopefully like inspiring for people who might not be doing theater right now or doing, working artistically the way they want to, like your light is still gonna shine.
Yes.
So that's for anybody
100%.
who wants it.
Come on, you are offering, honey.
I'm
Tithing and offering early.
Pouring out.
Come on. You better testify. I know that's right.
So I'm really excited for next season, and
me too.
Keep working on this.
It's going to be fun, y'all. So y'all keep tuning in. We got some good stuff coming your way. We are going to teach you how to do the business of show business, honey. How to get it right. So, yeah. It's game time.
Okay, let's do the game. Okay. We're trying to find new games because new songs, because last week we had a really cute, Indy had a cute idea to do Broadway because it's like the theater like theme of our season. And Laura, she don't know that many Broadway songs. So
Lord, and I realized that Sidney don't know as much as much more.
So
I got so tickled we had the exact same song.
Yeah, I hope we don't. But I think you should start.
Okay.
Because last time I started and it was
we're humming, right?
Yeah.
Okay, let me review the title. Okay. I don't know why I get so tickled. Okay.
Oh, Hairspray. You can't stop the beat.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that's a good one. Broadway theater.
Come on, Hairspray.
Okay, that's a good one. Okay, then we don't have the same one. Good.
Okay, praise God, because last week we did.
Yeah, and you were like, "That's my song."
I couldn't believe it. I was like, "Yeah, she's not gonna think of this. This is mad,
I know.
basic."
Okay. Okay. Oh. Okay. Da 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 da.
Bump, bump, and all that jazz. I'm gonna rouge my heels and pull my stockings down. Come on, Chicago.
Yes,
it's one of my classic favorites.
Yeah,
but low key, and this, y'all, please don't kill me, but I low key like the movie
better.
I'm more gravitated to the movie than the show.
I haven't seen.
I've seen them both.
I want to see the show because we have someone who used to
work with us in it. Kimberly Maribel.
So I want to see her. Yeah, I want to see Kimberly. But I haven't made my way, but I do love that movie, Queen Latifah.
Yeah, I don't know. Now, granted, like I'm not claiming to be a Broadway head like that. Like, I love the show that I'm in, and I'm a dancer first and foremost. So you give me a cute choreography and a cute song, I'm gonna lead anywhere. I'm like a cat strained to a stranger child.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna go anywhere. So I'm not fixated on the Broadway community like some people are. Like I'm not a crazy fan like that, but I did like Chicago. And I really watching the movie is like, oh my God, it's so sexy and rough, and
I remember I was in college, like randomly one day, and my mom called me. She was like, have you ever seen? I'm watching this movie. It's good. Have you ever heard of it? And I was like, what? She was like, Queen Latifah's in it. I think it's called Chicago. I was like, yes, that's like a Broadway musical
this
running
little
for
movie.
years. And she was like, oh yeah, it's real good.
It is good.
But that movie is especially good.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I did see the show too. So shout out to the people on Broadway.
Would you do something like that? Would you do?
I feel like
I think you would be fierce in that
style.
Throw
me a little fishnet and a little leotard, honey. I will go like a cat with a stranger. I'll be there.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that is something like, I'd love to do it.
Yeah.
It's kind of out of my comfort zone too, because I'm a little reserved too, and a little, modest. So to be sexy like that and just rough and the villainous, it'd be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
So the the show that we both got last time that we weren't able to get recorded was Rent.
Oh yeah, we both were doing Seasons of Love.
Seasons of
'Cause I was
Love.
thinking of the most like basic popular
Me
theater song
too.
that I could think of.
Me
But
too.
I'll have to test you like with something harder because clearly you know the classics.
I know a little bit more than what
I
I
have to bring
thought.
you some Sondheim or something.
Oh
Hard.
Lord have mercy. I pray.
You
about it. I pray. I don't know now. I don't know.
That you don't know.
But expose me. It's fine. I can learn.
Mhm.
All right now.
Okay. Now it's
Ties and
time for
offerings.
Okay.
Come on,
I
you've
guess
been
I should
testifying to it.
Okay, so I've sprinkled a couple in here, but this is a big one that I've been thinking about and meditating on the past couple of days.
Okay.
So I'm in Ecclesiastes 11, and it's verse 4. And it says, whoever watches the wind will not plant, whoever looks at the clouds will not reap. As you do not know the path of the wind or how the body is formed in a mother's womb, so you cannot understand the work of God, the maker of all things. Sow your seed in the morning, and at evening let your hands not be idle, for you do not know which will succeed, whether this or that, or whether both will do equally well. And something that I have been struggling with for a little bit is fear and kind of like the paralysis that can come with fear. So almost kind of like what you were talking about with leaving and not really knowing where to go. But this scripture, and I promise the Holy Spirit just gave it to me. I was thinking about this, but I had never read the Bible like that, so I didn't know kind of what to expect when I went to it. But basically what it's saying is like the person who watches the wind or who's always waiting for the perfect conditions will never move. So
Amen.
Just like you can't know really what it's like for a child to be born, or you can't know God's ways. So basically, sow your seed in the morning and keep on working. Make sure your hands aren't idle. Like, keep doing what you're doing, because you really don't know what's going to succeed, this or that.
Right.
You don't really know whether it's going to go this way or that way. You don't really know whether both might do equally well. Right. So it's kind of like when I've been stuck in a place of like paralyzed by like fear, or being so uncertain about something that I can't even make any move, because it's like, then you're never going to be ready, like no matter what. And you can put this in any area of your life.
Absolutely.
Like stepping out and leaving a job, or stepping into a relationship, or starting something new, like a business or a group or something.
Going to
it's
a
like,
new place.
Like with the women's group, it's kind of like, if I'm always like, well, I don't know who, if I was always worried the whole time about how many people were going to join, that I never would have just started it. Right. Or like, so that's been helping me and keeping me encouraged in times where I'm like, I don't really know what to do, or should I maybe stop, or like make a decision, keep walking, and then either way, and you never really know what it's gonna look like. That, and it's probably it might all work out the way that you want it to, but you won't know unless you step into it. So that's advice that's backed by the word of God.
Come on now.
So stay encouraged. That's my
Amen. Well, from the word to the world.
Right. Come on.
Sidney give it to you from the word, and you're going to give it to you from the world.
Come on.
So I was listening to this podcast, and it's right along the exact same lines. I was listening to Stuck by Damien Young. Forgive me, I don't remember the guy he was interviewing. I don't even remember the name of the episode. But what resonated with me in the midst of this conversation he was having with this guy, I think it was a journalist, because Damien Young is a writer and a journalist as well. So not a journalist, but he's a writer who has done some things with journalism. Anyway, in the midst of the conversation, what came out from the guest was he was giving advice from this woman to, she just said it roughly. She was like, child, just put that mess out there. Put it out there raggedy. Put it out there torn up, not good. Put it out there, and it falls right off of what you were saying. Like, for me, nothing is ever, well, in general, nothing's ever going to be perfect. You're never going to find the perfect ingredients or timing or anything to make you feel comfortable to put some stuff out there. But you also will never know if it will fly if you never send it off. Right.
And
so
wipe your hand, like just take your hands off of it.
Right. And in light of us recapping and wrapping up our season, like, we just stepped out on a leap of faith, like, it was a very random concept, a very random idea that I wanted to try, and here we are,
Yeah.
like
A whole
people are,
season done.
yeah, and people are watching and listening and giving their feedback and enjoying themselves. And I do feel like there are things that we have offered people. So, had we stayed in, the fear of, oh well, nobody will hear nothing about two black girls on Broadway, or Broadway is just so specific, like if we just get stuck on the doubts, we never would have known, It's such a beautiful thing that we've grown here. So yes, y'all, I just encourage you guys to, whatever it is, just put it out there. Put the rough draft out there. See what picks up. And you can always edit it. You can always clean it up. You can always evolve and make it better. So
two things about that too. One is that it's always so fun to go back and watch your growth when you do, and it's always gonna improve the more if you put time and energy into it. Anything you put your time into is gonna grow in some way. So when you go back and you're able to watch it, you're
it's funny.
Oh my god, what were you doing? What are we wearing?
Like what's his hair doing?
Right, but it's like that is so
we're gonna
incredible.
Criticize no matter what, child.
Right?
So you might as well.
And also they had there was this like graphic, or I don't know what you call it, like on Instagram going around like maybe a month ago saying the same thing, and somebody was saying the same thing and was like, if anytime you get scared, just realize that there's somebody out there, and it was kind of harsh, but like somebody out there doing it worse than you, and they're putting it out and probably making money off of it and profiting. So go ahead and put yours, because there's already somebody out there doing it worse than you probably and still
and getting better results.
Yeah. So you really,
100%
feel encouraged and inspired, because that is the word.
Yeah. And just, in the midst of like just talking about the imperfections, I just want to thank you guys for bearing with us. Thank you for your patience and your viewership and your listenership, because the road was a little rocky. Like, we're not gonna lie, like, technology, we're still trying to figure some stuff out. The audio might not have been perfect one day, or maybe the visuals were a little off, but we appreciate you guys for sticking it out with us and not giving up on us. Like, we are a work in progress. We are each, from me to Sidney to my husband producer Dale, we're all figuring it out week by week, and I think that we are growing and getting better and better. So we appreciate your patience and your participation. Thank you so much.
So that
well,
final.
But I gotta say some other thank yous.
Oh yes, thank you.
So thank you to all of the guests that have joined us. Thank you to Latasha Days, Adrian Walker, Haley Weber, who actually came in studio. We actually did try to have a virtual interview with her, and it didn't go well. The weather was a little off, so the internet was off, and she actually was gracious enough to come into studio the following week. So we thank all of our guests for that.
Yeah.
We thank even the potential guests that we had slated, but it just didn't work out. I thank my husband producer Dale for always getting us straight, lit, and, and the audio and the editing is always so nice and beautiful and right on time. And to Bryce for providing the amazing music that you hear in our introduction and our outro. Like, we got a team here, and most importantly, thank you to my co-host, Miss Sidney Wilson.
Thank you, India.
You're a light.
Who gave the idea to even make it happen. So.
Listen, I couldn't have happened without the chemistry and your participation. Yeah. So I thank you for your words, your vulnerability, your wisdom, your fun, your games.
My singing,
your history. You know, I thank you. Like, we couldn't have made this without you. Thank you.
Yes. Well. That's it for this last episode of our first season. I'm Sidney.
I am India. You guys can still recap on all of the past episodes. We have a whole bunch of wealth of knowledge and fun times for you to kind of refresh on, binge, whatever you want to do before the second season, which we come in soon and a little bit later. But we miss you guys already. We thank you. Follow us. Click that bell for notifications when we do come back with the second season. You'll be the first to be notified. Email us if you miss us that badly. And, look, come see us when you figure out what show we're in. Swing on by. Let us know you're a fan. You watch and you listen. Like, all the things. Oh, my God, I love you guys. I know social cues. It would be much appreciated.
Stay connected.
Yeah.
sooner than you know.
Yeah, you blink your eyes and we'll be back. But we thank you, and we will see you on the next season.
Bye.
Bye.
Social Cues is hosted by India Brown and Sidney Wilson, produced by Dale Brown, and music by Isaiah Young.
Find us on social media at Social Q 2023 on Instagram and Social Cues 2023 on TikTok.
Don't forget to subscribe to our page and follow us for notifications of new episodes.
Until next time.